Welcome to the Pondcast, the destination for insightful discussions and interviews on the appreciation, conservation, and husbandry of reptiles, with a focus on turtles and tortoises. Now, let's join our team of turtle nerds.
All right. Are we there?
Howdy.
Are we there?
We're there.
All right. The rolling was a little bit choppy for me. I'm not going to lie. I got a little nervous.
Oh, yeah, me too. I got a little nervous.
Woo! And then
I thought it was just me.
I got excited because, like, I've seen it so many times, but I'm like, wait a minute. I feel like Kevin Pollack was there when we took a lot of the photos that were used in the Roland, but I actually think that he took the photo, like the last one.
I think I was there with that stack of boxes.
Yes, you were there that day.
That never endless.
Remember the stack of boxes. Hello, Pedrick Stevenson. This is exciting. I love this. I was saying before we went live, this is the first time that I can remember ever. In the next month, by the way, will be 9 years for the Pondcast. As far as I know, it's the second longest running reptile podcast around.
Wow.
And
congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's a big deal.
Thank you very much. Kevin does not know the podcast rule that you're not supposed to talk until you've been introduced, but it's okay. It's okay.
I'll just introduce myself.
Since Minto isn't here, I have to make fun of someone named Kevin from Connecticut.
So you're in a bad spot, Kevin.
That's why he's not here, because it got too confusing.
Yeah. Exactly. Say goodnight, Kevin. Okay. Home Alone reference.
Good night, Kevin.
Yeah.
You little jerk.
Don't start with the movie references. Right off. Okay. Right off track. So really excited. I was saying this is the first time in the almost 9-year history of the Pondcast that NPR is the one that's been a little longer. Exactly. That I have not been prepared with at least some sort of scribbly notepad where I had some ideas for a show. And the reason is because tonight's guest is somebody who for me needs no introduction because he's one of my best friends, somebody who I talk to all of the time, and somebody who we know really well. But something else I get really excited about is when we could bring someone to our viewers who they don't necessarily know. And Kevin, you're not somebody who's kind of out there and that sort of thing. So I think of Ken Sofer and Ralph Till. When we first had Ralph on the podcast, people didn't generally know who he was, and he's somebody who a lot of people know. And it's something for me that's really exciting to be able to share my friends with people, if that makes any sense. Is that weird? So we have Chris with us, obviously, and then you see also Steve Enders, the president of the Turtle Room, and our guest, Kevin Pollack, who is just the greatest. I just love you, Kevin. It makes me so happy to see your face here. Look, Dennis Quinn is tuning in. I love it. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Connecticut love. I love it. And
excellent.
Kevin is a really cool one because, we obviously I love this kind of towing the line and kind of that gray area between like your institutional, your biology, your in situ work, but then also the ex situ work, and kind of how we have kind of a place in each side. Steve obviously does field work with the Turtle Room and TSA, and then also runs the Turtle Room, which has a captive piece to it. Chris is a herpetologist with herpetology. What is it called? Herp Associates. HA. You guys are from New Jersey, so you know what it is. Okay, I'm from Connecticut. Give me a break. And then Kevin, who's from New Jersey and in Connecticut as well. You have tons of experience in the field, but then also have that kind of keeper component as well. So we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about just about everything. I feel like this could be like a 5-hour episode at least.
Easily.
Right? Like this is not a drive to White Plains episode. This is a drive to Hamburg episode, like what the conversation would be in the 4-hour car ride. Right? It could be. Yeah. 27-hour podcast that you listen to on your drive out to TTPG in Arizona. Exactly.
Well, so
Kevin, welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been a long time, right? We started talking about this a couple of years ago. You brought it up to me, and here I am finally
hooked you.
Happening.
Yeah, finally hooked me. It actually took Dana, my wife, convinced me. I mentioned it to her, and she's like, "That's so exciting! You should go on." She's like, "What are you doing?" Of course.
There's other nerds like you. Go run and frolic with the other nerds. It'll be terrific. That's awesome. Michael Skipstead in the house. What up? I love this. Chris Drake. This is terrific. I love this. Follow us on Facebook, guys. Instagram. Steve, it's cool that you did that. I like the new interface.
What's
It's really
Twitch?
cool.
What's Twitch?
Don't worry about it. You're old.
Oh, yeah, switching. Yeah.
I'm old and technologically impaired, so
Don't
I'm
don't ask questions.
Yeah, all right.
Just excited that we made this work. That's
We
all.
kinda
Just be
are.
grateful. Just be grateful that we're here. So
I'll keep my mouth shut until I'm spoken to.
So let's start with some. I feel like we should do some rapid fire questions, right? And
Okay.
just throw stuff
Yeah,
at
why not?
Kevin, just because.
Mhm.
These are the best
Sticks.
shows when we get to just geek out with people who are literally just like fans of reptiles. Like that's when these end up being the best. So, favorite species of turtle that you can't keep?
Spotted turtle.
Oh, I knew that. I could have answered that for him.
Yeah,
I know,
I mean
me too.
that's
That's why I
a
asked.
no-brainer. It's my
That's why I
favorite
asked him.
turtle species.
I think that's the answer of half the people in Pennsylvania as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but go ahead, continue, Kev.
Yeah, I mean they're my favorite species of turtle. Period. Whether it's keeping or finding in the wild or whatever. I kept them for a very short period of time when I was a kid, living in New Jersey when I was allowed. But yeah, here in Connecticut, obviously, you know, we're not allowed to. So
Yeah, since 2015, actually.
but they're the perfect turtle. They're small and they're all beautiful,
Right.
and they're
That's the
cold
newest
tolerant.
Wow, that's a new law. Wow.
Yeah, it was. We could keep them. I bred. They're the first species that I bred, but I
Okay.
believe it was like July. It was the summer, June or July 2015, that the law went into place that they weren't going to be allowed in Connecticut anymore, which
Yeah,
is fine.
If I was allowed to keep them, I'd probably dedicate my entire yard and just make a big like wetland mosaic and have like 1,000 spotted turtles.
Yeah.
Was that a, you know, okay, that's it. Doesn't matter who has them or how you got them. It's over. Or was it, you know, you had to go through permitting process to be grandfathered in?
There's really no permits, and historically there's no permits in Connecticut. So that was it's just like, all right, well, you know, am I ever going to get in trouble for these? I could prove by like showing a million different posts I made on Turtle Forum that I had spotted turtles for a long time. Yes, but like I don't even want to put myself in that.
Yeah,
place.
you don't.
And then
wanna,
with that,
don't,
it was
you
like,
don't want
you
to
know
put a target on your back.
I'm not even keeping
Yeah.
natives anymore.
I mean, I'm certainly in that boat because you know I still work professionally with, you know, North American species. So for me to keep anything native, I just don't want to do it. And even if it was legal, like Blanding's turtles, I'm not going to keep Blanding's turtles because I've worked with them and I don't want to. You know, you said I'm one of those people that kind of are on both sides, and there's a lot of people that are not on both sides of keeping and doing, you know, conservation work or whatever you want to call it. And so there's some stigma sometimes that goes with that. And so I just don't even want to, you know, be put in that category of like, oh, why does he have Blanding's turtles? You know,
I live in that category every single day of my life.
yeah, right. Right. That's, you know, so I try to steer clear of at least the big, you know, the big ones, spotted turtles, Blanding's turtles, you know, wood turtles, things like that.
Yeah, makes total sense. Yeah, and blandings are a good example too. Like you still do field work in areas where there are, like in states where there are blandings.
Yeah, I did a little bit of work this year, some in the past, and hopefully I'll get to work with some more. But yeah, they're a great species to look for. Yeah. But yeah, so you know, if people found out I was keeping them and then I'm out there, you know, being paid to do whatever with them, it can be a little.
I thought blandings were not a problem in Connecticut.
They're not native.
No, they're not. They're not native to Connecticut.
All right. I got confused there.
But he does work in other states.
But they
Right,
are
you work
right
with
over the
them,
border in New
right,
York,
okay.
where
Gotcha.
I do some stuff with them, or have done. Can't say I don't have anything current with them, but
yeah. And I think there's also a difference too. And it's I'm like nothing against Connecticut at all, but there's less like communication, collaboration, and stuff like that with the state. I think like in New Jersey, it's a little bit different where Chris has a relationship. You've had your Blanding's turtles forever, and people know that, and people at the state know that, and they've been to your place, and you have personal relationships with them and that sort of thing. So like they know that you're not going out and taking Blanding's turtles. Like it works, and New Jersey has a permitting process and all the rest of it. So it's really just, you know, for the viewers out there who are kind of wondering how this works, you know, this comes from years of politicking, for lack of a better term, networking, getting out there, talking to people, kind of figuring out how all of this works. Had someone just today asking me about North Carolina law. If you're tuning in, hello. But you know, like obviously, I don't know a ton about North Carolina law. I could read the law and say this is how I think it would work, but I don't know how that would work in a court. I don't know how people from your actual from your actual state would actually enforce those laws. and what those laws actually mean in reality, because I'm not out there and living there every day. I don't know how that all works, but I
think
know
every state is like that, right? Like
yeah,
the law is one thing, but then what's actually enforced can be another, especially with wildlife laws. It's different with,
But that, New Jersey doesn't mess around in a sense that, again, I think a lot of wildlife agencies can learn from them because of the way they do things. Because I find them to be very fair, but they're both, what's the word? I don't want to say that they're lenient. Okay. Cause you can't go take an animal out of the wild, and they are going to check your paper trail. You know what I mean? If let's say, say you have a wood turtle, they're going to, most likely they're going to call and look into the trail that you say the turtle came from. But by the same token, again, they're pretty supportive of the private sector. You know what I mean? Plus they also know that they need a place for some of these turtles to go, so they don't, I guess, purposely burn bridges,
But it seems like they have people who are actually looking at this stuff. Like there's a difference between captive bred and taken from the wild. They know that, but they have people to actually look at it. I think
they
in
will.
Other states,
there's almost every year, whoever's in the permitting department. Right now, it's a woman named Kate. She, they'll send a, hey, we have a question about this, blah, 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 and you look at it and you're like, what? Like I remember the one year I was like, what are they even? It was a mud turtle. It was a mud turtle. That they were like, where's this one from? It was there was like one extra, whatever, hatchling or female on the my submission list for that particular year. And of all that stuff that was on there, wood turtles, spotted turtles, box turtles, all that stuff, critically endangered, like ESA listed stuff. They wanted to know about this one extra mud turtle. So that shows you right there. They look
right. They're involved. Yeah, we don't have that, and there are other states that don't have that. And I think that's the issue. That's what you need to get a grip on in your own state. Is like, is it kind of that approach of like, hands off, don't even mess with it, because it's just going to be assumed wild caught if you have something that's native, or are they actually working with you, giving permits the way that they do in Maryland and New Jersey and stuff like that? But
that's great, because you want them to be looking at that, because then when you're doing the right thing, it looks good for everybody, right? Because there's plenty of people that do the right thing, and by them looking at that, that they're maybe going to catch the people not doing it correctly.
Yes,
and so there's a distinction, and too many people don't see that there's a distinction with people that do things the right way and do things the wrong way.
Right. There's an educational value and a collaboration value there that's being met by this work that people are doing. It's totally. But I don't want to harp on this captive side just because of who I am. Kev, let's talk. Things. I know, and we'll get into that too. But we'll come back to it. But I don't want to just stay there and stay with it. Like I'm seeing people here who really care about the field stuff as well, like Dennis and Michael and. Hey Andrew, hey Kevin, thanks for joining us. So, Kev, tell us about working in the field. I just want to preface this by saying, like, when I bought my house, I made Kevin come over and look at the foliage, the flora around my house to let me know like what I needed to be worried about. Like, I put my pond under these grapevines that naturally grow in my trees because of like Kevin coming over and talking to me about stuff. My aloof self never would have had that thought. And it's like such a smart thing to do. And so he came over and like, this is toxic. This is not, that's invasive. That's not, like, I have no idea what any of that is. So you're such a gifted naturalist, particularly from my, according to my brain. So like, talk to us a little bit about your time in the field, like what that means to you. What do you enjoy about it? And I can just tell I've been out with you before, and like, just seeing you in action, like you're fit. I can't even keep up with you. There's just, like you field guys are just a different breed altogether.
Yeah. So yeah, I've just always been a field guy. Like that is truly what I like most, about all reptiles is seeing them in the field. For a long time, I actually I didn't keep much, I've always had something, but there was a long time where I didn't really keep anything. And, because I was doing a ton of field work. And then when I got away from that, I started keeping stuff more again. And so, it's trying to find the balance. But yeah, I've just loved being outdoors. I don't know. It just draws me. Like I can never live in a city. There's not enough trees. I just like being in nature. There's nothing better than going outside and like not hearing any human noise and just being immersed with any kind of wildlife or plants around. It's just calming, I guess, is what it is to me. So yeah, I love being in the field. I guess I'll just give you a rundown of the species that I've worked with. So if you want to ask any questions about them,
can I interject? Just
yeah, sure.
for the viewers, listeners. Well, I guess at this point it's viewers. Listeners, you'll hear this archived later, but for the live viewers right now, if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them up there. We probably won't get to all of them, but if you throw something up there of particular interest, we might grab it to ask Kevin. So please, Kev, go ahead.
Okay. So I've mainly here in the Northeast is Blandings turtles, bog turtles, wood turtles, very little bit of telemetry with eastern box turtles and some survey work. And then I spent a few months down in Florida surveying for gopher tortoises, which was really neat because we used a camera to scope the burrows and see if they were occupied or not. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, so those are the species that I'm most familiar with. I've never done anything with spotted turtles from a professional standpoint, but they're just my favorite to find. Even with all those other species mentioned, spotted turtles are still the best.
They're just terrific, right? There's a reason why they're such like a rock star species of the turtle world.
Yeah, like I said before, they're perfect. They're stay small. They're always beautiful. There's no ugly spotted turtle out there.
It's true.
I mean, there's a beat up gnarly ones or whatever, but they're still beautiful.
But those tell a story,
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yep.
You said bog turtles, which makes every turtle person's nipples hard. Can you speak more? Sorry.
It's so true. You know what it is? It's because they're like
people freak out.
They do, because there's a lot of like aura around them, and it's because they live in such small habitats, and they're kind of hard to find, but the habitat is even harder to find because at least here in the Northeast, so I'm familiar with them in New Jersey and New York. But a lot of the places where they are private lands. So you can't, it's not like you don't even have a chance to try to find them because you'd have to get owner's permission or trespass, I suppose. But to even find that habitat where they are. So that's why I think there's the mystery around them. But yeah, I mean, they're a great little turtle. I know plenty of people that work with them that's their favorite turtle to look for. And they are a lot of fun to look for. I like them because they live in these kind of pockets. And so when you get into the habitat and there's a population there, it's like, all right, they're here. Now you have to find them. As opposed to some other species where you could be walking for miles and you don't know, they could be literally anywhere. So It's kind of like looking in a defined area. And so it's kind of challenging and rewarding because that they're there. So you can find them.
I think Kevin just froze.
He did. Are you still there, Kev? Can you hear us?
I am. Something came up. I didn't see it quick enough though. So
we can hear him, so that's good.
Oh,
there you
go.
Yeah.
No.
Good. That works.
I haven't moved.
Why is Chris
your signal got a little poor, which is what I noticed. So
get it together. Come on. We've been planning for this for 2 years. I'm surprised that Chris has had nothing to say up there so far.
Me?
Yeah, normally we can't keep him quiet.
Well,
Are you intimidated by Kevin?
I'm just waiting for you to get through all the turtle stuff. So keep going.
Oh, you want to get to the snake stuff?
We got to do turtle stuff here. We do.
We can talk snakes.
I can't talk to Kevin yet about bog turtles because I don't get to really do my bog turtle work until this spring. So
I was going to say, did you ever go out? You told me you were going to go out that one time. Did you ever go?
So we did. We had to do a survey up, and it was a potential spot, and it was one of those things where when we got there, Bob said right away, he was like, I don't think they're here. And I was like, can I say something? And he was like, sure. I was like, I know I've never done this before, but they're not here. You know what I mean? Because I've immersed myself in reading about them and everything since I was, a little kid, and so it was just one of those things where it was like something wrong here, you know.
Well, I will tell you, before I saw my first one, you know, I read probably all the same books that you did, and I was mistaken by their descriptions of habitat.
Okay.
In the books, like I always kind of pictured, you know, because they talk. Every book tells you they're basking on tussocks, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking they're on tussocks like a spotted turtle, you know, standing water. Then that's not accurate.
Yeah.
So until you see some of the habitat, well, you know, it changes a little bit throughout the range, but
right.
I'm like I said, I was wrong, and I was surprised as to where I started finding them the first time.
Well, I mean, you know, again, I have literally, you know, got to be careful how we describe things here, obviously, you know, but as far as like, you know, plant indicators and stuff, you know, those were there, you know, and the one time that we did go with a couple people to one of NJ Fish and Wildlife spots with permission. That was the only other time that I had been to a real, you know, a known spot where there is a monitored population there. And it was the end of summer. It was too overgrown. All we ended up coming up with was a cell of male. That wasn't a monitored animal, so we had to take that back for the state. But when we got to this spot with HA, you know, I noticed like right away, I was like, this is vastly different. Again, plant indicators were there, but it was vastly different. And sure enough, search. They did it for 4 more days after that. I had to get assigned to a different job after that, but nothing turned up except a handful of spotted turtles, which were interestingly all juveniles, and a couple snapping turtles, but that was it.
Well, I will say, bog turtle habitat is good nursery for baby turtles. You see every species that's around, you'll find.
There you
juveniles.
go. Okay.
Dennis reminded you to be very careful with that there are some sites where you expect them to be that they are. So just
gotcha.
Grown folks are talking.
You know, on the other end, I have a friend who's a turtle guy, but he's an architect for his day job. And so, you know, in the construction world, particularly in parts of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, where there might be populations, like anytime the habitat even has an inkling of the smallest potential, the site's getting flagged for a level 1 survey to check out the habitat. So, like a lot of those level 1 surveys, it's just like, no, this really isn't the right habitat, and they're kind of done, right? But more of those happen in bog turtle ranges than people probably know of as well.
Sure, yeah.
But like, so for him, it's really funny because, like, you know, as an architect,
probably hates bog turtles, right?
Well, so he does. He doesn't, because like he knows they're only going to be so many places. But what's really funny is he has so many projects where the contractor's like, well, we got to get the bog turtle survey. And he's like, I can tell you they won't be here, but we got to get the survey anyway, you know? Yeah. So, but it's just kind of one of those things. Anytime you end up in one of those kind of marshier, you know, property areas, you almost, somebody goes, oh, there might be bog turtles.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's a little more involved than that, but yeah, right. A site gets flagged, and then somebody's got to go out and check. You know, they do a phase 1, see if it's actual habitat.
We had a pretty big team with us because it was us and another environmental consultant company, and you know, it was a pretty vast search, and like I said, it went on for several days, but it was just one of those things where, and you know, I'm new to that, so I'm sure, you know, all these guys, yourself included, get this feeling more often than not, where it kind of overcame me. It was just kind of like, they're not here. You know what I mean? One of those things, you know, and they weren't, you know, but
so, you know, as a consultant, you got to always go in assuming that they are, because otherwise, if you have it in your head that they're not there, then you're not going to look as hard.
No, believe me, I looked hard because I passed out almost like 3 times, but what is interesting, to go back to this about you know, what Dennis was saying on the chat and what you were saying about being wrong the first time you saw one about the habitat, again, without giving up any information whatsoever.
Yeah, be careful.
No one got to tell me. We were just talking over the summer, one of the gatherings that we had here, where we had everybody over from HA, we were talking about bog turtles and wood turtles in a particular spot that we were blown away that they're in, and this information is for more of a private conversation between us, but it ended up being basically in somebody's backyard, and it was like, you got it. Yeah, it's monitored. It's there. They're both there. Yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy.
But the other thing to think about is, with any turtle species, right? They're so long lived. Mm-hmm. So 30 years ago, when those turtles were adults or even juveniles or whatever, mm-hmm. that habitat could have looked very different, and they just haven't left yet. Because they're just so fidelic and they don't want to leave. That's where they grew up. That's where they live. But to us, maybe it doesn't look appropriate anymore. Right. But they might still be there.
Well, and you get these discoveries by people, which over the years, and this isn't professional work. This is just people coming to us like, hey, I found a wood turtle in blah, 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 blah. And we're all used to like, yeah, sure. Okay. It's probably a juvenile snapping turtle. Or something. Right. And then they're like, no, it's a wood turtle. And like this one time in particular, moons ago, this guy that I knew up in North Jersey, he said he found a wood turtle in this area that was like, absolutely not, no way, And he was like, no, I did. And he brought it over, and the animal luckily did get released. I had to push him to do it, but he brought over this. I mean, this animal was so old. Okay. You really did need to know wood turtles to identify it as a wood turtle. Okay. Yeah. This animal didn't even really look that much like a wood turtle anymore. It was so smoothed out, so weathered, so discolored at this point, but like you're saying, like, they're
just hanging on.
Yeah, they're fidelic. They're hanging on. There are still some there, maybe. And this particular animal was perhaps the last, of her population there, or maybe there's a couple more. Who knows? They could still be doing well there. I don't know. But
right. That's my point. Is that there's plenty of sites where you have a couple old individuals just kind of hanging on because they just haven't, the site isn't productive anymore, but they just stick around.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Andy asked a good question. He says that he would love to hear the other species that you found in gopher tortoise burrows.
So
that would get you guys into your snake conversation, but take it easy. Advance.
So I guess there's two really cool ones. So well, first, this was kind of like central South Florida. So it's not northern Florida where things are more dependent on the burrows, where like North Florida and Georgia. I did not get any indigos, if that's what where we're going with that. But I did get a Florida pine snake, which was awesome.
Nice.
And I got a couple coach whips, and maybe the coolest were gopher frogs, which I was pretty excited about. So I skip into the amphibians for a second. I actually so we would have a like I said, a camera scope, and we were looking at a screen while we're moving the camera around in the burrow, and so I came upon this one tortoise, and there was actually a gopher frog sitting on top of the tortoise.
Oh,
which
wow.
was I took a picture of the screen. It's all like black and white and terrible looking, but it's pretty neat. So those are probably the three most exciting ones for me: pine snake, gopher frog, and coach whips.
I'd like
no diamondbacks in the burrows. This was also I was there from May, June, July, so it was pretty hot. I went down there expecting to see a lot more, to be honest, but it just didn't happen for whatever reason.
It's still awesome.
Yeah,
I'd like to put 10 seconds on the clock for all four of us and answer what's the one species of animal in any animal, doesn't have to be a turtle, that you would most like to encounter in the wild. Any animal in the world.
Oh, that's hard.
Anyone have one yet?
I mean, off the top, I'm sure it would change if you asked me 10 minutes from now, but I'm gonna say red panda.
Oh my gosh, never saw that coming.
Yeah,
okay, how about for a turtle? What's the turtle that you need to see?
I mean, I definitely, just for my own research purposes, I got to see a Herman's tortoise in the wild.
I knew it.
I have
trick pony.
You wouldn't pick Spengurai?
Boring.
I would actually.
Really? You kidding me?
What'd she say?
Want to go back to Italy?
What'd you say, Aunt?
Casey calls. She goes boring.
Oh my gosh.
I said that.
Well, you both said it at the same time.
Great minds think alike. Anthony,
Yeah,
what's yours?
You
What's your
guys
turtle?
can go to Japan. I'm gonna go to Italy.
Spengler.
They have better food.
Is it?
Yeah, I have to. It's the same thing. The same thing for Chris. There are other ones that I would want
you know what?
to.
You know what I
but
think it would
I
be?
have to.
Expansa. Podocnemus expansa.
That's right. We talked about that before.
This
This is what nerds we are, right? Like we're just having conversations.
But it
about
needs to be like a lot of them.
random South America.
You know, like I have that vision of like
South
them
American
all
species.
basking on the bank.
Honestly, I would love to, as cliche as this is, I would love to just do a good old fashioned African safari, you know. But
You should.
I would like to juice it up a little bit and say, okay, great, we got to see all the megafauna. Can you stop driving now so we can walk around and look for all the different tortoises here? You know.
That was a good segue. We all didn't do our 10-second answers. We didn't get one from Steve. Steve, do you have an answer first? Because I'm going to take that as a segue. Okay, Steve's muted still. It's okay. It's okay. You can be muted. We won't.
He
be
gave you the
upset.
silent treatment. That's
I know he did. I deserved it. So, good segue. Kevin has actually spent some time in Africa as well. Can you tell us about your time in Africa? Like,
Yeah, so I went to South Africa purely for fun.
here we go. Some pictures.
Oh, there we go. Let me move my
Look at that.
mouse out of the way. So yeah, that's Pelusios, whatever.
Pelusios something or other.
Something it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Ferry will tell us
whatever he
later. Yeah.
I think it's sinuatus maybe. So that's in Kruger National Park in South Africa. So my trip was to South Africa, the country, and so we saw a couple of those. One in hand crossing the road, that one in hand that was kind of in the mud, and then a bunch of heads in another muddy pool. I did see Pella Medusa. I don't have any pictures of those. But then tortoise wise, there you go. That was my first Cursina.
Wow.
Or Cursina. How do you say it?
Steve's the best at that. I thought it was Cursina, but who knows?
I don't know. Either way, angular tortoise.
Yeah.
That was the first one. That was pretty exciting. We saw a lot of those. So if ever you want to go to South Africa, I mean, they're easy to see. I saw, I don't know, 10, 20 of them in a few days, maybe more. I don't know. There was a lot. There was one spot, I think I had 3 in my camera frame. Like it was just awesome. So we saw those. I saw one parrotbeak, Homopus areolatus, and leopard tortoises were amazing. Totally fantastic.
Massive ones?
Massive. Like heavy. Like using 2 hands, full on grabbing them. That they were so cool. Saw a lot of leopard tortoises too. So we tried so hard for a tent tortoise. I forget which subspecies we're in the range of, but so hard. I mean, I'm used to looking for bog turtles, and the friends I was with also. So we were in it. We were in the zone.
Yeah.
And for hours in a spot that I know that they were. We had gone with. So at that part of the trip, we were with somebody named Tony Phelps. He's well known in the snake world. He's a snake researcher. Recently passed, actually. Unfortunately, he was amazing guy. Unbelievable. He had more stories. The most interesting man. Remember those Equis commercials?
Yeah.
He's that guy. He was that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like just more stories than anybody. Anyway, so he brought us to a spot that had 10 tortoises, and we spent hours there. Unfortunately, no 10 tortoises, but we did come up. I don't know if Steve can pull up that yellow Cursina that we found.
That's insane.
Oh, yeah.
Most beautiful tortoise I've ever seen. So that was just the bonus prize.
So when you brought that tortoise back in your pants, were you concerned? Was that before or after 9/11? When
I needed you there, man.
security ramped up.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what people would do for that tortoise.
It's funny. The value on them is
better where it is.
high. Even
You're
though,
right. It's already valuable tortoise, and then look at that thing. It's bright yellow. I didn't even know that they came in that color. It was until we found that one. It was insane.
Yeah, Chris, what did you say? It's better where it is.
It's better where it is.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
People need to hear that for sure. We geek out about it. We joke, but obviously, absolutely.
Like I said, I'm a field guy. I love seeing stuff in the wild more than anything else. Like that's what I live for, really.
That's kind of what I discovered about myself and it started with the whole habitat building thing. I was like, why am I, overextending myself to this point with you know what I mean, with habitats, and after now working in the field so much, it's clear it's just where I love to see them.
Can I ask you guys a question? So Chris, you've kept them and bred them and had success with them, but you say that one needs to stay in the wild. Like it reminds me of the documentary that Leonardo DiCaprio did, where he's talking to like political leader in India, and he's talking about the importance of like climate.
I never saw that.
It was awesome. He's talking the importance of like pollution and climate, change and everything that we need to be doing and blah, blah, blah. And the guy looks at him and he's just like, are you crazy? Like you guys had your industrial revolution and you polluted the world forever. And now that you want to tell everyone else to like pump the brakes, but like, we're just getting to where you are. Like now it's our turn to pollute the world and build something out of it.
Right.
Like,
how can you tell us what to do?
So like, guys who keep these animals, like Chris, you bred them, and to say like, well, that should stay in the wild. Like,
well, I'm talking more. I'm you guys all know that I'm an advocate for, doing right by these animals, but in and out. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as, and I've said that boldly in posts and videos and everything. There's no such thing as one side to this anymore. It doesn't exist. You're not going to save these animals by leaving them alone completely. You're not going to save these animals by only keeping them in captivity, and people will say things all the time, whether it's on my stuff or somebody else's, where they'll say things like, oh, shut up, they're just going to get killed out there, somebody should just take them now before that gets wiped out, and vice versa. You've got the different sides attacking each other, and what it comes down to is it doesn't matter how much land you can buy or how much money you have to buy that land and so-called protect that land and do this, that, and the other thing. You have to have people working on the ground on both sides of it. My point is that tortoise is going to be seen as, okay, how can we turn that into the next Het for Invisible banana bubblegum Shuji Boo? That's why, like that, again, like I love Cursina. I absolutely love that species. I don't work with them anymore, but I absolutely love them. But I love them the way they classically look. Can I deny that is an absolutely stunning animal? Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. What I'm saying is I can't deny that. But I'm not going to go off on the morph thing because I have too many amazing friends that are into morphs. So
they're not on this podcast right now, though.
Yeah, but that's right. Some of them could be listening. I don't know what everybody's opinions here is, and they're all entitled to it. Some people love morphs, and you know what? Good for them, because morphs have absolutely no involvement in conservation. They're not going to help, So it's kind of like, go ahead, go nuts with it, if you will, But
well, the argument with some of that is like if albino red ear sliders didn't exist, and Clive and Jared didn't throw millions of them at keepers, that maybe they'd be looking for something else that's rare. I love it when people say red-eared slider morphs are rare. Rare albino, rare caramel.
It hurts my head so bad.
Okay. All right. Because, every 9 out of every 10 posts on Fauna and Morph Market are rare albinos. Obviously, we know what's happening to them right now. But
yeah. And, it's the whole ball python thing. And again, like, you look at some of these snakes that have been fully, created by man. And yeah, you look at it and you're like, oh my God, man, look at that thing. That is absolutely stunning. It's unbelievable, but that's as far as it goes. You know what I mean? For me, at least. We took on a ball python this past summer at HA. Bob took it on, he keeps it in our lab. And, we got the call that these people wanted to get rid of it. It turned out it was a wild caught female that had ticks all over it. Like, it wasn't eating. That's why the people got rid of it. They realized that the thing was, so they gave it to us and we keep it in our lab. We cleaned it up. We're taking good care of it. And like the one day we're out there we're just working in the lab, and like, I'm holding the snake and I'm showing the guys, I'm like, what is wrong with this snake? It's just a classic ball python, right, as it would appear in nature. And they're like, nothing. It's amazing. And I'm like, that's what I mean. Like, look at that thing. It's incredible, and there was no work from us, you know what I mean, to put in to make that thing look that way. It's natural, Unfortunately, that particular snake, had a rough go, but you get what I'm saying? Like, it's just. I'm not a
morph guy either. We've talked about this. I like naturally. I do like polymorphic species, like naturally polymorphic species, though.
Yeah.
But the thing about that, but the sad thing that heard from you is that that's a wild caught ball python. There are hundreds of thousands of ball pythons in the States.
Right.
Why is there a need because they want new blood and try to make some new things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
But
exactly
I mean, that's just not necessary at this point. And people are like throwing out normal looking ball pythons, right? Because when you breed things and you don't get exactly what you want.
Right. So you go ahead. Sorry, I'm getting excited here.
Yeah. You know what's funny is my question had nothing to do with morphs. That's I was asking
ball pythons or snakes.
Yeah. Right.
I know. But it's
actually, so if you want to get Africa for a second, I think
I got you. We got you. Right?
Am I there?
You froze
you're
on
a
a
little
good
bit.
smile.
You guys hear
You're
me?
good. Keep going.
Yeah, you're smiling and you're frozen picture.
I can't hear anybody.
Oh no, really?
Oh, all right. Well, then just be quiet. Steve, mute him. We can talk without him for a second.
Can we go to a commercial break?
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
See what happens? We got too excited and too passionate about this.
I know. It was the ball python talk. Somebody pulled the plug. Our funders pulled the plug.
Yeah.
No more ball python talk.
We're going to have a talk with me.
Steve, did you dump Kevin or did he drop off?
I dumped him because his network connection is
like,
currently at a 0 out of 10 with our production software here.
You know what they say, 0 out of 10 ain't bad.
Maybe somebody
see morphs for pets to save the wild. Exactly.
If only that were true.
And that's well, I think it does. I think if you're producing millions, it does curb some of that just a little bit. And like
maybe
nobody
just
cares.
a little bit. But the point that Kevin was about to say was, there are still droves of wild-caught ball pythons coming into the pet trade.
I know. Hold on. We're talking.
Can't hear anything.
We're talking about a couple different things. So
if you can hear
ball pythons aren't a total like. They're not a good microcosm for the turtle situation. Right? Like if you look at the red ear slider situation, if albino red ear sliders were widely available,
here he is. Yeah, I missed the past like 3 minutes.
If albino red ear sliders were available in pet stores instead of regular red ear sliders, you could argue that they wouldn't get as much of a stranglehold in the wild when released, these visual albinos in breeding, right? And then also people want something rare or different or cool. They grew up liking turtles and they say, wow, I didn't even know that existed. So are they saying, wow, I didn't even know that existed about albinos? Or are they saying, wow, I didn't even know that existed about wood turtles? And what are they going to bring home and throw in an aquarium? And
right. The thing is, though, there are people, I leave them unnamed, but you probably know at least one of the ones that I'm talking about, just recently was posting wanted ads like crazy. It was at least this summer, I think, for virgin female red-eared sliders. You know what I mean? They had to be normal, they had to be virgins, and they had to be adults. And there was two different people posting about them, but the one person in particular would buy as many as, like, he literally used the words in the ad, unlimited amounts. You know what I mean? So, you know, we know what the objective is behind that, you know, but if that starts moving into other turtle species that, you know,
this is creepy.
Can't sustain any kind of take, you know.
That just sounds gross.
I know, right? It's weird.
But like what we do in the shadows, like some weird vampire seance type crap. We only want virgins. Freaking creepy. Creep show. You reptile people are weird. Yeah. All of you. All of you.
Also, just to get back to Africa for a second, because I saw somebody ask a question. I was only in hingeback range for a very short period of time, and I did not see any.
No.
That was only when I was in Kruger National Park. Was there a chance? And when you're in Kruger, you can't just go walking around. You're pretty limited to your car and in your camp.
I've seen videos where like the crocodile bites the lion that was biting the gazelle, and you know you don't want to get out of your car.
And then there's some Pelusios like coming up and like eating ticks off of hippos. Right? You seen those videos?
Say that again, Kev. Which videos?
Of Pelusios eating like ticks off of hippos and things.
Yes. Oh yeah. Or where they take down a bird that lands like
right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chris, everybody should totally go to Africa. It's the best.
Just Chris. What's up with that? We could tell. You know, I've said this story too, and I should just do this now because we're talking about traveling, and you're telling Chris how we should go. I've told the story both on Turtlely Devoted and the Pondcast about how I was asked to go to China in 2019. Told my wife she was not thrilled. she said, everything with you is a once in a lifetime opportunity. We used to fight a little more now. She's much more understanding now. I almost feel like if COVID didn't happen, I would have been able to go. We've been much better, as anyone who listens to Turtley Devoted.
No, this was pre-COVID.
It was. I know.
It was pre-COVID.
Like,
oh wow.
Yes.
Yeah, I brought it back.
Of course it was. Of course it was pre-COVID. It was Wuhan. So it was September 2019, and she said, "No, go next year. You always act like everything's a once in a lifetime opportunity." And then COVID happened, and I don't know the next chance I'm going to get to go to Shanghai, which again is near Wuhan in eastern China. But I arranged and helped to try to set it up so that my good friend Kevin Pollack, the mystery man who nobody knew, was the one who actually went. Can you tell us about that
China.
Experience? I was really excited, right? I was really excited.
He's like the band that has. He's like the band that has the gold record in Japan, but like his mom shows up to that.
I call him. I call him K-pop. Kevin K-pop Pollack.
That's awesome.
It was incredible. So I got to go to basically when it was a reptile show there, but more interesting for me was I went to one of the turtle farms, and just the density that they kept some of these animals in was insane. Mm-hmm. I mean, so I haven't seen the big red-eared slider breeders down in southern United States, so I don't know if it's similar or not, but I've seen nothing like it. I mean, there was a pond that was 50 feet by 100 feet that had like 1,700 Mutica in it. I mean, we're talking densities where the water is just like rippling everywhere because there's just turtles coating the whole thing. It was wild, and the water's like brown. And they say, so they keep brown so they don't really see. And there's so many turtles because there's actually less aggression because they're just on top of each other. But, I mean, they breed the snot out of them. I mean, I went into their egg room and their hatchling room, and there's just thousands and thousands and thousands of baby turtles. And then there was other grow-out ponds. Same thing. They were maybe, 50 feet by maybe 20 feet or 30 feet or something. These are just estimates or whatever. That they said that they could handle 10,000 hatchlings in each pond. And these are in like greenhouses that had, whatever. There was probably a line of 10 greenhouses with 4 ponds each, and they can each pond could have 10,000 hatchlings.
Are they raising for food? I can't remember if they eat Mutica, which is the yellow pond turtle, by the way, Moremys Mutica.
I think at the time,
I thought you couldn't.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. There's actually technically only a few species that were allowed to be food,
and some still are. Wow.
And so, but they were trying to get more added, and I think Mutica was one of the ones that they're trying to add to the list.
I mean, it seems like a pretty big leap of faith to breed 10,000 Mutica. And
who's buying all of these turtles, right? I mean,
exactly.
So at the show, I saw stacks and stacks of them, and I remember the Mutica specifically were like less than $2 American for each one.
Wow.
They're like $1 to $2, super cheap, and everybody had them. So like you can't sell them because everybody's got them.
Yeah. Well, Anthony, remember at TTPG that year when Chris Hagen did his talk?
It was actually that show. So he went and did what Kevin did. He was with Kevin in 2019, but he also went in 2017 and 18, and that's why he was reporting on when he came back, and he was talking about the prices of rare flora in China
and Flavos.
So I went to the same show that he had gone to the previous year or two or whatever, but he was there the year that I was there also.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it was incredible. It was really very.
Now
very
I have a quick question about I want to make sure I'm remembering this correctly. I remember you did a talk on box turtles, right?
Yeah.
American box turtles.
Yeah.
Now, didn't you, I could have sworn I remember you telling me, wasn't there like a vendor there, or maybe more than one vendor that had a really outstanding looking adult Western box?
So there was a lot of American box turtles there. Everybody loves American box turtles over there, which is why they're getting poached out of here and sent overseas. But yeah, so some of the prices. So like, if that's where we're going with this, so this was a couple of years ago. Things change. I don't know what it is now. I haven't been back, obviously.
Probably even higher because of COVID.
Who knows? But eventually they're going to start breeding them in giant quantities. Also, I would imagine, and then they're going to be less reliant on ours. Supply and demand, how everything the price eventually should go down. But I remember Florida box turtles, hatchlings were like $900, US dollars. But the crazy one that you're referencing, some guy had a whole bunch of adult Eastern box turtles and three toes and other things, but he was just showing them to show where his offspring were coming from. So they were breeding them already. Some people.
Right.
But there was an outstanding looking Eastern box, maybe one of the prettiest Eastern box turtles I've ever seen. But he said that turtle would be worth about $5,000 for an Eastern box turtle.
Wow.
And you wonder why people are collecting them and sending them over, because there's just tons of money.
Well, and it's
a shame.
Obviously, it's horrible. It's horrifying. But you guys all know, we all live in the Northeast. When you come across a really outstanding, usually male Eastern box turtle, it stops you dead in your tracks.
Oh yeah,
Anthony, you remember the one? Do you remember? Again, pre-COVID years ago when we had the turtle room barbecue, and the terrapins for the first time hit that morning, and we were, and I think it was the day before or the day of, you and Casey and I were down the road, and that male Eastern box turtle was crossing. Remember that thing?
I have pictures of it.
Yeah,
beautiful turtle.
The head on. Hope to God he's still out there somewhere. But
I know, and not snatched up to be sent overseas.
It's a species that I love. Like I said, polymorphic, right? Like everyone's different, so it's so fun to find them because they all look different.
Yeah, you're right.
One of the really cool things I think people don't understand, it's so different there. When you were telling me about how it worked, so Kevin's there. They have to get a translator, obviously.
Yeah.
So he has his own translator. They paid for him to go out and give the talk, which I was super jelly about. And then they had in between each talk, they had these girls in skirts come up and do dances in front of everybody.
Yeah. So right. So the vendor that brought me over, he brought me over. He wanted clout, so to bring an American over to talk about turtles, right? That was to get people to come to his area or whatever.
Popular American who's never done a turtle talk before.
Yeah.
So perfect.
It doesn't matter. You're American, right? So you obviously know about box turtles.
They thought they were getting Chris Leone, and then you showed up.
So they but yeah, he hired these girls to just dance. They're half naked girls just dancing on this stage. Yeah. That I went up
That's
after.
probably Anthony. He probably facilitated that.
But he wasn't the only one. The other vendors didn't have dancers, but they just had pretty girls just standing around. You just have to stand there and try to get people to come to your table.
It's like an early 90s Bud Light commercial. You pop open and then people in bikinis showing up and oh man, if you drink Bud Light, this is what your friends are going to look like.
Right. If
you buy a box turtle from me, this is the next step.
Girls are just going to flock to you.
If you drink enough Bud Light, this is what they're going to look like to you.
Look at our comment section. It's all white men. It's this middle-aged white men. Here you go. You buy your first turtle. This is your future. And we're contrary to popular belief, we are trying to change it. The first female to comment gets my book, signed copy of my book, mailed to them.
Oh, does Casey count because she said, "Tell Kevin I love his shirt."
Casey doesn't count.
I was just gonna ask if Dana could comment if she counts.
No. Dana and Casey can have copies of my book anyway. But
I just got this shirt. This is actually supposed to be a PJ shirt. I don't know what the difference is, but
my mother-in-law got it. Obsessed with NASA, right? And space.
My mother-in-law got it for me, so in case she's watching, I figured I'd give her a shout out.
Oh, there you go.
This is it. This is your future, Anthony. Good comment. I'm sorry. Proceed with caution. That's all I'm going to say. It gets real fun. Get a little taste. Real exciting. Hatch your first turtle. And then you look up one day and this is what you see in the mirror. And it's not good. It's not good.
Okay, ready? Another rapid fire question.
Oh my God, I love rapid fire questions. Please.
None of these have been rapid fire, by the way.
Just Kevin.
Yeah, I know. We're talking too slow and just keep talking over each other too. All right. Most memorable 2021 field experience. What animal? Ooh. Maybe don't give up a location. Maybe what state were you in?
2021. Let me think for a minute. It would probably have to be. I got a I found a bog turtle at a site where none have been seen in like 20 something years. Like 20
That's a pretty big deal.
That's a pretty big deal.
That was pretty good. That was pretty
That's
exciting.
a bigger deal than a ball python.
I did not find any wild ball pythons in 2021.
Damn.
Yeah.
I have to say we have some diversity showing up in the chat, and I'm really excited.
Yes,
about
we
this.
do. That's awesome.
I would, yes, Facebook Messenger. I want to talk.
Slide into his
talk.
DMs.
Please slide into my DMs. Thank you. That was a good one. I like most memorable. Kevin, tell us about your snake breeding. Let's not go too far into that, but I do want to touch on it.
All right, so
Kevin,
you know,
He's going to cap you off at some point.
I am, but if you're looking for a place to buy your next colubrid, this is
so
your guy.
this is my catchphrase. As I say, I breed snakes to support my turtle hobby, right? Because turtles don't. Because they're much harder to breed. They don't make any money. Like whatever. I have Spengleri, right? They're the most frustrating animals in the world.
Who you telling?
Exactly. Anyway,
you know
so yeah, I keep mostly Asian rat snakes because they're cold tolerant, and here in Connecticut, it just makes sense. You know, I have a couple other things, some mountain kings, some black milks I just got into, but breeding wise, so far it's been pretty much all Asian rat snakes.
I listen to so many reptile podcasts, and whenever they're talking about, oh, you can't hear again.
Crap out again.
Kick him out, Steve. Kick him out.
Can you hear it? Yeah, no, he's right there.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, I listen to other reptile podcasts, a whole bunch of them, and whenever they're talking about colubrids, there's a new one, by the way, with Zach Loafman, who we're going to have on in either March or April. I think we're working on it right now. He's a brilliant professor at Liberty University. He has a new podcast on Morelia Python Radio about it's called Colubrid and Colubroid Radio, I think it is. He's so brilliant. I love hearing brilliant people talk, and I just think about you the whole time. I listen for him, but then I think about you the whole time because he's really big on, you know, a lot of the colubrids like you are.
Yeah, I mean, snakes are just easier, right? They take up less space, they take up less time, they're more fecund. You know, they get up to breeding size a lot faster. Yeah,
and they do everything faster, right? Like
Everything.
they go to the bathroom a couple times a week. They're not like
Or
these
once.
pythons that are like, you know, once a month or something. And
yeah.
faster metabolism, faster growth, faster
Well,
moving.
Yeah, I was comparing to turtles though, as far as like you know, breeding.
Okay.
It's just a much faster process.
Oh,
So,
of course, right? Like
rewarded
my
faster.
spider tortoises just started laying eggs, and it's been 10. Next year, I hope to hatch one in year 11, and I've been like power feeding them for 11 years. Snakes, you could be like F5 right now,
Right.
Fifth generation captive bred from some animals that you've been breeding. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Aaron, congratulations! You get a free book. Thank you so much for commenting. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please slide into my DMs. Let me know your address and maybe a little bit about yourself, and I'll send you a personalized message in the book. I would love to. Nothing makes me happier than doing that.
That was
So sorry, everybody. Sorry, everybody who is not Aaron. Just saying. I got quiet for a second. Got awkward. Just saying. So I love that idea of supporting your turtle habit. Tell us about your turtle breeding. See, look, we're almost an hour in right now. We haven't really talked about the turtle breeding. I'm very proud of myself.
We haven't talked about any turtles that I actually keep.
Yeah, because that's like our crowd mostly likes to hear about that. There's obviously we have both, but yeah. So tell us about that. Go down the list.
Well, so the only thing that I'm really actively breeding right now or successfully breeding, I should say, and partially successfully with Spengleri are Spengleri and pancake tortoises. But next year, with a little luck or a lot of luck, maybe some Geomyda japonica. I have the potential for that. European pond turtles, potential for next year. Russian tortoises are potential for next year. So, I keep a lot of things. In a couple of years, which would be really big for me, would be big-headed turtles. They're a lot of fun. Yeah, that'd be. I mean, whatever. I'm going to need a whole lot of luck with that. Obviously, not not too many people have done that, but
Yeah,
I
he
have
has
them.
big-headed turtles that he's grown up from hatchlings, which is
Right.
just that, like, that's super rare.
That's
right,
awesome.
be able to
right.
do
So,
that.
so I hopefully have a better chance because of that, because I've raised them from hatchlings. So maybe they'll be easier to breed. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. What else? What else do I have? I just got a whole group of baby Moremis japonica, which are really cool. Another cold tolerant species that I've been interested in for a long time. So I'm excited to work with them. Got some great Herman's tortoises from the Testudo Master right there. What else do I have? Anthony, what else do I have? Oh, Coraberetti.
There you go.
Maybe my favorite.
Right, and
Species have.
so Corabetti Barrett's box turtle, also the jagged-shelled box turtle.
Oh yeah, Mahootii. Right, I have
Yeah.
Mahootii. I have a couple Phrynops tuberosus. What do you
Yes,
call
you
them?
do. Those are so
Jeffrey
cool.
Steinecks.
Those are so cool.
They are. I love them.
Right?
I probably shouldn't have them. They need a warm all the time, but
yeah,
they're just the best.
that's okay. That's like Chris and I with Iwanawai, like the Sulawesi.
Oh my God, man! I literally shutting down the
Big-
barn before.
Yeah,
I got so mad.
big, smelly, aggressive, dirty turtles.
I can't even include them in a video because I'm not quick enough to change their water for the 19th time that day when the camera's about to go over their enclosure. It's like every time you give them a nice big fresh thing of water, you turn around, you go inside, maybe you eat a Pop-Tart, you come back out, and
It's the Pop-Tart you have to cut out.
and
That's what it is. In more ways than one.
don't
Yeah.
you put
They're like
that evil on me, Ricky
they're
Bobby.
like
It's the turtles telling you stop with the Pop-Tarts.
And you just
They're
you
like
come
the
back and you look
triumph.
down, and the thing is like, you like your nice water? Guess what? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then here comes this like dead tree floating up, and it's not a tree.
They're like the Triumph, the comic dog of turtles.
They're terrible.
Oh, it's a nice water bowl for me to poop on. You remember that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think anyone remembers that.
I do.
If you remember that,
I do.
slide into Chris's DMs this time. Let him know about it.
Just stop saying that.
Kevin said it first.
Stop
It
saying
made me laugh. Kevin, you also have twist necks.
Oh yeah, right. Another species.
Oh,
I
you
probably
do.
shouldn't
Yeah,
have.
that's right. I forgot you had those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
couple twist
recently got a
necks.
pair of twist necks.
Yeah, you have a lot of turtles and tortoises. You have a marginated. Did you mention that?
Yep, I have some marginated tortoises.
Oh, you have
Also-
some. Yeah, that's right. I was just
Right.
thinking of the one.
Also
Yeah.
from Chris.
Yeah, so you got some stuff.
Yeah,
stuff.
I got a few
Yeah.
things.
And then we partner.
gotta look
on a lot
around
of
to
different
remember.
things, too. We partner on some things too. There's some stuff
There's
that you
beals,
have
right?
that's-
I'm raising up a
that's here.
beals.
Yep.
And
So
yeah, I think that's.
Are you
pretty much
keeping
it.
any? Are you keeping anything else besides snakes and colonians? You doing anything? Any lizards? Any amphibians?
I'm off
He
of
did
lizards
have
right
some.
now.
yeah.
Off of lizards. I have it like I go through phases with lizards. I'll get some lizards because I'm like, oh, these are really great, and then I'll keep them for a couple years. I'm like, man, I hate lizards. There's so much work, and then I get rid of them, and then a couple years goes by. I'm like, but these lizards are so cool, and I'll get them. So I'm in my hate lizards phase right now.
I just came out of my hate lizards phase, and I'm trying to stay in the love.
Oh yeah, you got those Ackies, right?
Yeah.
How are they doing? Eating you out of house and home yet?
fantastic, man. Dude, you were not kidding. And I'm sorry I didn't call you that day. I wanted to talk to you about the roach colony because I'm literally like, we were all sick with COVID this past week, and once we tested negative and everything, I was like, I need to go back out to the pet store and just buy everything that they have, so that because now we're going to be backed up from being sick and out of work for a little while. That I have to have them like loaded up so that Casey doesn't have to worry about it, because it's such a project for her to throw both girls in the car and just to drive out 20 minutes because that's the closest.
Listen, I started raising my own feeders a long time ago. It's the best thing I ever did. Roaches are the easiest out of everything. They really are. Do you have a snake rack?
but they're roaches though.
Yeah, but he's got a snake rack. He's got.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the other side of my building it's nothing to look at anyway. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, but they're roaches. I don't
What?
think everyone here understands that they're roaches, though. That's
So we interrupt this previously scheduled program so Anthony can tell you his roach story.
No, that's done.
Wait, you can't say it's done. You have to tell us.
No, I actually, this is like, if we could go back, like, let's
Is
say,
this why Shannon made that comment?
let's say 13 months from now, and it's like Pondcast 10 years, right? February 2023, and we're going to celebrate the 10 years, and we're going to talk about the craziest moments on the podcast. Like, that would be number one, when Steve Rosen brought up the roach situation in front of my wife, who was sitting next to me on the podcast, who was helping me co-host the roach situation that she didn't know about, because I had gotten some turtles from down south, and they came with their enclosure, and then a roach crawled out, and I'm like, holy crap. And this was not a dubia.
That, man.
This was not a dubia. Yes, you were there, Steve. Like,
it was just you, me, Shannon.
Right? It was horrible. It was like the worst possible thing, and he brought it up, and she didn't know, because I was like working really hard to try to eradicate these roaches from my house, and she didn't know yet. But it was like, they were just in the basement where the turtles are. They never came upstairs. But like, this is not a dubia that like doesn't climb a plastic wall. Like, these were legit roaches on steroids, and they could climb anything, and they probably flew.
Rosie, he didn't know that.
No, he knew. He knew.
No,
he did it. Like,
he didn't know any. Wow.
No, he knew. He knew that she didn't. He knew that she didn't know, and he brought it up anyway, just to mess with me. Yeah.
So I hid the roaches from my wife for like 2 years. Like, I was like, oh, I got another feeder. She's like, what are they? I'm like, just don't look. They're dubious. That was the only word I was allowed to use dubious in my house for like 2 years.
Casey wants to like keep them all as pets because she loves bugs. She's like, they're so cool. Like,
shut up, Chris.
No,
get out. Get out of here. Nobody. You have a zookeeper wife. It doesn't count. Nobody.
You have a wife that goes out and collects worms for you.
That's true. That was big. Yeah, but my wife went out and did it with tongs. Like,
she did it.
She was dry heaving the whole time.
She did it.
I would have like tasted one to make sure they were good.
I told Dana that, and she's like, never. She's like, don't ever compare me to your friends' wives. I will never do it.
I love it. But you know what? Shannon would have said that too. But I don't know. I'm sorry.
I brought, you remember, that vendor at Hamburg? I don't know if he's still there because I can't remember the last time I was at it. But he sells like
2016.
Was that it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
I think so.
He
I was there.
It might be one of the book guys. He has he would sell like the shadow boxes with the preserved insects or like you'd have like a snake skeleton in there or flying lizard, like all kinds of stuff like that. Well, Casey wanted to get something from him, so we ended up getting one of those like giant rhinoceros beetles in like one of the huge ones, not our little rhino beetles. You know what I mean?
Is that what they're called? Those are called like Atlas bug beetles or something.
I honestly, I don't know. I don't know my bugs, so I apologize if anybody is insulted by my lack of knowledge with bugs. But
not an entomologist.
I got a beautiful little shadow box with it in there, and she liked to display it out in our old house. You know what I mean? And like I used to actually be like, everybody's coming over, maybe we should take that down, and she'd be like, no, it's staying up.
Conversation piece.
Yeah. But anyway,
Anyway,
that's all.
Yeah, so you have dubias, and you recommend them to everyone. My turtles don't even like them. My turtles are like,
my turtles.
You're the only one. My turtles love them.
Yeah.
And when your turtles,
I didn't stick with
when,
it. I stick
when your
with
turtles
other
came
things.
to my house, I got them on dubias immediately.
I took a video just the other day of
Tough love.
Flavo about this big. I mean, it's only 2 inches, and it savagely murders like a medium-sized dubia. You know what I mean? And it was too big. The Ackies were like a little bit afraid of it. This one, it was just too big. So I took it out and I threw it in this tub. And there's a Chinese box turtle and a Florida box turtle in there. And the Flavo just literally like it wanted
They're
this
monsters.
thing dead so it could eat it. And then like the Florida was like, hey, that's a pretty good idea. So like I threw another one in there, and then that one did the same thing. It annihilated it. So I
like them because they're big, and so I can give one to a Spengler eye, and that's like a whole meal. Like I don't have to give them, more things. Like I just give them one big roach, and it takes them 20 minutes to eat it.
Right.
But
yeah, and that's good enrichment too, to have to kill it and hunt it.
Yeah,
makes
it's
sense.
definitely.
It
I
doesn't
mean, that is
surprise
the
me that
bad
a
thing
flat
about them is that they don't really move. So when I do dubias, I tongue feed everything. So it does take
Mhm.
a little bit longer because of that, because you can put them in a bowl and they don't necessarily move. I mean, a lot of turtles will eat them, but they're great for
Mhm.
water turtles. You throw them in the water and they're like, scrambling around on the surface and the turtles just come up and snag them.
Right.
The big heads.
Yeah,
love them.
they're definitely cool. It's I'm gonna need to do something because going back to the original question, I'm loving the Ackies. They're amazing. Their intelligence is it's honestly like watching little puppies, like with the way that they cock their heads and everything.
Yeah.
But
They're like birds. They're bird-like.
yeah, yes, they are very bird-like, and the heat thing's not a challenge. Like I am keeping them extremely hot, and it's consistent, and they're doing well with that. But yeah, the feeding thing is just like wow. Like it's nice to feed a turtle and be like, cool, I'll deal with you in a couple days. You know what I mean? For the most part, but with them, it's like wow, you guys ate yesterday, and you have to eat today. So.
Oh, you're back. I guess my connection's terrible. I don't know.
Yeah, you look horrible.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Man, I feel
Why
like I
don't
look
you
bad
tell me how it
today.
really
Yeah.
is?
We're just gonna throw this whole thing out.
What is it like an office space? He's like, I don't know, man. I just get that feeling like she's cheating on me. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So anyway,
Oh,
I have a producing roach colony for you. Whenever.
Okay. Thank
There you go. And that goes out to everyone watching too. Just
Roach
slide into
colonies
DMs.
for every.
Hey, some people get signed books on this podcast, and other people get roaches.
That's
You
right.
get roaches. You get roaches. You get.
That is
roaches.
right.
You get a car.
That is right.
It only takes two.
Don't forget, Aaron. Don't forget. Sending you a book. So we should wrap up. We should work towards wrapping up. It's not happening soon, so don't be like the people that want to beat the traffic and sign off now. We're not done
Peace.
yet. But we're gonna move towards it. So Kevin, what's your goal for field work? Like, what would you like to? Because I think I'll share. You do a lot of kind of odd and end type jobs, if that makes any sense. What are you laughing at?
That's a
Because he's
terrible time
gone.
for this.
You, man.
Me?
Didn't hear what you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. You do a lot of kind of odds and ends type jobs with your fieldwork stuff. I'd like to know what are your goals for that? Like it's so tough, I think, for people who work in that realm, work in the zoology realm, like to get to a point where like they're not moving around the country or not kind of driving all over the place for opportunities. Is that something that you would love to have with
So
your
I
fieldwork,
got
or-
out of it for a while for that reason, is because I didn't really have any work, and you're right. Sometimes you have to there's a lot of seasonal jobs, or you go and work for a consultant. You get hired on as a consultant. But I kind of pigeonholed myself into just herp work, and here in the Northeast, automatically it shuts down for 6 months out of the year, 4 months, whatever it is. So, like I said, I had 2 kids, and I kind of got out of that because I couldn't just, I needed more steady income. But recently I've gotten back in sort of because of COVID. I got back into it more, and I've been able to, eke out an existence, but I'm kind of doing it kind of always as the low man. It's never my project or anything. And that's because I get to do all the fun stuff, right? Like the higher up you go, the more you're in the office doing the paperwork and writing the grants and whatever else. But it's kind of fun just to be the field guy. Like that's what I like doing. And so, it may not pay as well and it may not be as steady work, but it's fun. So I actually hoping to build my snake breeding a little bit more. So I don't have to rely on either one, so my ultimate goal is to kind of supplement my income with, some breeding and field work in the active season. And, it helps that my wife has a good job. So I'm kind of able to do that a little bit more. It's a little easier. And then I can be home for my kids too.
Right. That's right. That's why she won't go pick up worms, because
That's right.
Yeah. Because she's got it like that. It's okay.
But no, I mean, it's good because it allows me to make more of my own schedule, and then I can be home for my kids, pick them up from school, take them to dance class when I need to. So it's been fun to get involved with all different projects, and I've been fortunate that I've been able to do that and not worry about the times that I maybe don't have work for a little while.
Sure.
So yeah.
How about a goal with the captive side of the turtle stuff? What are your goals with captive keeping? What's a goal that sticks out for you this year or future, that sort of thing?
So I just want to, every year I want to, add another species kind of, so I shouldn't say that. From what I have, every year I want just a little bit more things to hatch, because then I think I'm progressing. It's not that I'm adding new species every year, but I'm just breeding a new species that I haven't done before that I already have. Like I have a lot of animals that I'm raising up that are, coming into their own, and not even necessarily new species, but just more of one. Maybe I've bred them once, and then next year I'll have another female going or whatever. So something that'll really excite me, or if when the Beretti get old enough, if I get hatchlings from them, that would make me really happy, just because I love them and I've been raising them up since hatchlings. So it'll be a many-year project that'll hopefully come to fruition. Same with the big heads.
Many years.
Just a little feather in the cap for some of these harder to breed species.
I think Chris is getting tired
Of the Beretti? Yes.
of your.
Who you are? Send them to me.
I can't. I don't fully own them, so.
Neither do I.
But they
fully own mine either.
I don't even know why they're here.
Where'd they come
Who
from?
fully owns a Beretti? That's the question.
Yeah, you're right.
None of us.
Nobody really does. Yeah.
Yeah. 3
every
out of
year
4
it's
of
like,
us keep them, and none of us fully own
This is
them.
going to be the year. This is going to be the year. And it's like, oh my God, some of these things are like ancient now,
Mike,
but that's what makes them that much more exciting, right? So when you do have some success, it's like success. It's not like, oh, I just bred whatever, some easy species.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just talk to Chris Hagen and Ben Forrest. Those are the ones kicking butt with the flowerbacks. And obviously Steve's been doing it for a really long time.
But did Chris finally turn it up with Beretti though? Because remember that was the one they were.
No, Beretti were the ones that were struggling. I felt like because they were too cold, right?
He said they didn't know. He said that I specifically remember because then I talked to him afterwards about it, and he said to me, he goes, "Dude, I wish I could say, dude, don't do that," But he's like, I can't, because I think he said they tried cold, then they tried warm, then they tried in the middle, and they just seem to be the one that they get some out of, whereas the Galbs and the Pictorata are just like, they're on that cycle now, and they don't seem to drop off it.
It's so interesting because to me the Beretti were the easier ones out of the 3 to breed.
That's what I kind of thought, but it's not.
Are they the northern Berettis or the northern most of the 3? They're the ones in the middle. Okay.
Yeah,
that's right. I knew Pictorata was southern. I can never keep the other 2 straight.
So we're talking about flowerback box turtles, just so everybody knows. There's 3 species. They used to be subspecies: the Galbinifrons, Pictorata, and Beretti. I like to make sure people know what we're talking about. In case
that's a good idea.
Not something that they've been into yet, but they're really pretty Southeast Asian turtles. You should look them up.
They're like
our. Keep mine a little bit warmer now this winter.
What's that, Chris?
I'm trying to keep mine a little bit warmer now this winter because every winter now they've gotten down chilly. You know what I mean? Like they'll stay, upper 40s, low 50s for several months, and just not move a muscle. And then just like everything else, when they wake up in the spring, they're back to pounding food and breeding like crazy, but just nothing happens. And the other
are they together in the fall?
Yeah.
I feel like the fall breeding is really important with them. I know that Chris has said that, and they come out in the spring. Like if they're gravid, they're going to come out.
I never separate them. Because it's not like I have a lot of them. They're always together. And
maybe that's something you can try, is keeping them separate.
I guess, but the thing is, there's no problem with breeding. I mean, remember that video that we used on the turtle?
The infamous. I think about it all the time. It's like
that
in my brain.
Turtle.
Like
that's that
roaches.
same male, dude. He locks up all the time. Like there's no doubt about what's actually transpiring, and that is constant.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, so I don't know. It is gross. So this winter, they're obviously I don't leave them out here because it gets too cold. But this winter, they don't have any heat on them, but they're in a warm room, so they're staying inactive pretty much. They'll come out, they'll go in the water dish, and then they'll go back in, and then
what temperature?
I'm not even monitoring it. I'm not even because I'm done. I'm done trying to do that. So I'm just making sure that they stay heavy and they come out, they munch a little bit here and there, but for the vast majority of it, they actually burrow down underneath all the leaf and pine litter and they just stay put there. And the building fluctuates a little bit here and there anyway. And I'll see, maybe, I don't know if that'll help this year. I don't know, but I wanted to change something. So that's the only thing I'm changing this year. They stay in the same tub in the winter in the barn, and they go into the exact same enclosure outdoors in the summer. So that was the other thing I was told, is to not change their environment. You know what I mean? Like whatever they're in the winter, leave them in that. Whatever they're in for the summer, leave them in that. So I haven't changed that. The only thing different this time is they're not like they used to be kept like way down on the floor where they would have no choice but to get pretty cold. Now they're up and they're just kind of staring at whatever that air temperature is, which, you know, is warm. So
interesting. Yeah, one of those things that eventually sometimes works for people, and
right, it's weird, right? Like sometimes you can mimic what other people are doing, right? Mm-hmm. But your group just doesn't work, and vice versa, right?
It's exactly. Well, it's like the Bell's Hingebacks. Everybody keeps asking me what I can, you know, share people with them, and I don't. There, to me, there's just really nothing that I'm doing that's. It might just be those particular animals that are just doing well for whatever reason. It's not even something I could say that I should take the credit for. You know, it's people are
really
like,
good analogy.
What's your secret? And I'm like,
or even variety with TSA, right? They're killing it with Galbs and Picturata. Their variety are not doing it for whatever reason, but other people do have success with them.
Right.
That's the fun part. Like I mentioned Zach Loftman earlier. I've been listening to his podcast. Like that's what he describes as the fun part, right? Like from a scientific perspective, like we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to touch on as many variables as we can to replicate not just what the other breeder has done, but you know, looking up what the actual wild situation is. You know, we're looking at annual rainfall, temperature, humidity in where they live. Like some of us are actually going out into their natural habitat and you know, taking measurements under the leaves, not just of the environment, but like where that animal actually lives, you know, and taking all of that, then taking into account, okay, what does Steve do? What does Ben do? What does Chris do? Taking all of that together and trying to figure out what works best, you know, with what we have to offer as well, because whatever you do in South Jersey is going to be different than what we do in Connecticut, which is going to be different than what people do in Florida. Like, that's a really big one too. So
sometimes it's even the weirdest thing is, you know, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I know other people have, where for whatever reason you don't like the way something is going with one or two groups of animals, or maybe if it's just an individual type of animal that you have or whatever, and you just switch it. You know what I mean? You can't even say that there's anything that different about the enclosures that you're switching into, but you know, there's been times where something up in the front of my property, I didn't like the way it was doing. So I was like, screw it, let me try it back here. So I moved it to the back of the property. And then for whatever reason, that animal or animals perked up and, you know, got on the straight and narrow and started doing well. You know, sometimes I wonder if there's something, because they're ground level animals, they're subjected to different microclimates that we can't even fathom, you know. Maybe there is something that's, especially in an outdoor setting, where you have absolutely no idea what's going on, but the animal does. And sometimes all you have to do is move it, and you can't even really put a fine point on what it is. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like you don't even, the sad part about it is you can't explain why things worked, but for some reason, when you moved that animal or animals, all of a sudden something about it perked them up, and now they're doing fine. And
we try as best as we can to view the world as they do, but we're not them, right? So we don't always know. You know, we do the best we can. And I will say, being a field guy, seeing animals in the wild does change the way I keep them. You know, like seeing where they are found. And I'll never forget the first time I went to Costa Rica. I was in high school, and I was working at a pet shop at the time and keeping animals or whatever. And I went to Costa Rica. It was my first time in a proper rainforest, and it just blew my mind. You know, like. This was, you know, back in the 90s, and I was like, you know, red-tailed boa, right? Needs a basking spot. Not really. That's not, you know, they live under the canopy. They're not going and sitting in the sun, right? And I did, the biggest thing though I didn't understand was ambient humidity. That was like a huge eye opener, just going and being in habitat and understanding more about, you know, where these animals are coming from.
Well, humidity is a big thing too, that I think reptile
ground level, like you said.
Yeah.
Go lay on your lawn in the summer.
Right. You know, a lot of reptile
super
keepers.
high humidity.
don't grasp that. And it's over so many years of herpetoculture, there's still so much outdated information out there that's inaccurate that we don't really understand. And again, like you just said, goes back to that ground level thing. Like almost any type of turtle or tortoise at the very least is going to respond to some kind of humidity. Even these species that we think are desert dwellers, Egyptian tortoises, okay? People throw it on crust oyster shell, keep it dry, boiling hot. Then when that animal starts growing, it turns into the Statue of Liberty, okay? Because of how morbidly pyramided it becomes. What people don't understand is these are coastal animals, all right? And even when they're a little bit further inland, they're seeking out those microclimates and they're sitting in them. That's where they want to be, because
Absolutely.
that's what they need to survive. So people think, oh, desert, oh, leopard gecko, it doesn't need any humidity. Oh, Texas banded gecko, it doesn't need any humidity. What are you talking about? Of course it does.
Yeah, they're right. These arid animals are living in burrows, or it's a seasonal thing. A lot of these more arid species, they don't eat, they don't do anything until it rains, and then they're out in when it's raining and there's food available, and that's when they're growing.
That's probably the one thing that I've discovered that, I can't say it for sure, but I think is the direction it's going as to why these Bell's hingebacks are starting to do well, or have always done well, is because I think I kind of accidentally was giving them a dry and a wet season. When they were inside, there was really no way for me to do anything other than keeping them wet. And we're not talking about the hingebacks that have been in the hobby for 30, 40, 50 years. These are the ones that just came in for the first time ever in 2020. And, that's, I think, what's happening. Because once they were put outside and they got that actual rain and the high humidity, it was like they came to life. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, I know we could, like we said, we could talk about this for 27 hours straight.
Yeah,
and we should.
Yeah, I know.
One last thought that I want to ask to you guys who are so knowledgeable, particularly about box turtles too. One thing that I hear a lot from rehabbers is that they will purposely keep box turtles, like Eastern box turtles, warm all year round because they don't need the stress of a cool down or a hibernation.
It's not stressful.
Yeah, that's out of left field. That makes you, if you want to de-stress them, let them go to sleep. Let them go to sleep.
I would say,
I
would say it's different if there's like an active infection that you're treating.
Yeah, that's a different story.
Because often the last animals you see in the season will be sick because they're out even when it's cold, but they're trying to warm up in the sun.
And
so if there's some sort of infection, so if it's like that, but you shouldn't say it's stressful for them. That's what they
Steve, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, I remember a pair of, I think it was ornate box turtles that Joshua Sukanik had. And, I helped care for his animals for a while and they just weren't doing well at all. So we took away their light. We basically buried them in dirt and just let them sit for 2 months without touching them.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, then we gave them light and stuff, and then they started eating finally.
There you go, because you triggered the behavior to come out in them, and instead of just handing them that silver platter warm all the time. It's sunny, it's warm. It's sunny, it's warm. Like no box turtle, even a desert box turtle, wants it sunny and to just be out in the open and warm all the time. You know what I mean? So in all honesty, when it gets that warm, what do? They
hide. They burrow
for humidity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even desert box turtles. Sandy Barnett taught us that. She said these things are underground, sometimes as deep as 3 feet, and they will stay there
for months.
For months and months and months until the rain.
And then it rains, and then they come out.
That's it.
So
and our box turtles aren't that different.
I agree 100%. There is no but involved in that. I 100% agree. And I know that when people ask me, I generally just say it's an important part of their natural biology. So we should try to mimic that as much as we can. It's not something that they have to do in the wild. So we don't need to do that in captivity. No, it is an important part of their healthy life. So we should try to strive for that in any chance we get. And then there's this idea of this hormone cascade where the actual cooling down of these animals triggers all of the hormones that they need to be successful and to be healthy, like breeding, like feeding response, like everything. You know, they're not going to be able to do those things unless they're getting that seasonality that we need. And when you have animals that aren't producing, that could be something that we need to look to. You know, I tell people all the time there's so many people that want to start keeping some Asian species, like Chinese box turtles or some of the other Cora, that sort of stuff, or Geoemyda, the leaf turtles, and they get really excited about keeping them. But they don't realize, like, your room needs to cool over the winter, or it's not going to work with the vast majority of those species. So
I mean, it's even snakes, you know.
Oh,
yeah, big time. And the colubrids are one that I hear.
Yeah,
yeah. Mountain Kings specifically, they got to get cold.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get infertile eggs.
Right. Yeah, it's same thing with the snakes from this area, the pine snakes, the king snake. You know, they gotta shut down, and the hormonal changes, the triggers. It's just the time to reset. It's what I wish we could all do it. Just be like, oh, it's winter. All right, well, I'll talk to you guys in April. You know what I mean?
I do it.
You know?
I do it because my animals are a lot of them are sleeping right now, and I've written 3 magazine articles already for this year, and I had trouble writing all 2021, and now that the animals went to sleep this year, I'm just feeling great. I'm writing more. I wrote something that we could leave with this too. I wrote a letter to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife in opposition of the new proposal to list the Egyptian tortoise on the ESA, the Endangered Species Act. We're not openly fighting the petition to list macrokellies, the alligator snapping turtle. We are fighting the Egyptian tortoise. It doesn't make sense. They're already extinct in the wild, or close to it. They're critically endangered. They're listed by CITES, so we don't need that legislation. But that was something else that I wrote that I'm excited about. So we'll be putting in an official kind of notice of opposition on Turtle Room letterhead, with some correspondence with the TTPG as well, to try to do that. So I wrote that as well. So when the animals go to sleep, it's a really nice time to do.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Build cage. That's what I do.
Yeah, right. Kevin builds cages that he doesn't use. Kevin has like 630 cages and uses like 25. He's cage collector.
I collect cages.
Yeah,
That's what I should have done, man. Oh, God.
yeah. Carly would like some book recommendations, kid-friendly books.
Oh,
I
I've
have
got
to
a
think
good
about
one.
that. Do you have a good kid-friendly book? We should end with that.
There's I read this. My oldest daughter loves this book, and she's going to be 5 years old, and for the last 5 years, she still will say, "Daddy, can you read it?" It's called either A Blandings Turtle Journey or A Blandings Turtle Story, and it's just this quick, super cute illustrated book, a story of a female Blandings turtle that goes to looks for a spot to lay her eggs, and a family finds the turtle on the road. Classic story. You know, they think it's best to take the turtle, so they take it. Blandings Turtle Story. Steve just put it right up there. That's great. Yeah, it's just a really cute book, and it teaches kids, like, if you find a turtle, don't take it home. It belongs there. But that it's a common mistake that people make, and it goes through the thing of the female laying the eggs, then the eggs hatching, and it's really cute. It's really cool, and it's for guys like us that love Blandings turtles. It's super specific, so it's really awesome. And then I'll give you two more, and then I'll shut up, Carly.
Oh, geez, take your time.
Box Turtle at Long Pond is a book that I grew up on. Super cute, super awesome, amazing illustrations in it. And then the other one is Scoots the Bog Turtle, but Scoots is Scoots. And those are 3 really awesome kids books that I love too.
Awesome. Chris loves kids books. He's creepy.
I do.
Michael Thathuvaswamy, our good friend Michael Thathuvaswamy, wrote Chili the Bee Tortoise, which was written by our friend Jamie Sheffield. That I can say that's a good one because I haven't read it yet, but I'm really looking forward to reading it. And then if you're looking for books on 3-toed box turtles, check out the book by Kenneth Dodd, and then also the book.
Yes.
Great books on that
Yes.
include 3-toed box turtles. They're like the box turtle Bibles. You need both of those books if you're North American box turtle nerds.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk. I don't want to keep this one too long, but we'll talk. I love it. Kevin isn't here to give a final thought, so I just want to say thank you. I really, really enjoyed having Kevin on, and I appreciate all you guys for tuning in.
Oh, there he is.
There he is. Kevin, give us a final thought.
Get out in the field and enjoy the native wildlife. That's gives you newfound respect for things that you keep because you see it in the wild and you strive to keep it better in captivity.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
100%.
How was that?
Thank you
That's
so
great.
much.
It's
I enjoyed
Thanks
having
for
you on so
having me.
much. You're such
Yeah,
a
I had a great
natural.
time.
You were hesitant for a long time, and then you just
Very
come
long
out
time.
here and just kick butt.
Well, let's
Get
do
some
a part
better-
2, and we'll do another 2-hour
Yeah.
talk about this kind of stuff. You know?
Get some better internet, and we'll do this. This will be our new January episode. We'll have Kevin on every time.
There you go. Oh, good. I'll be here for the 10-year one then.
The 1 month shy of 10 years. Take it easy.
Man, I'll take it. I'll take a month.
That's going to be a big. We're going to get someone big on for that one.
Cool.
That's all I'm saying. Not you.
Is there anybody bigger than you, Anthony?
Physically, no. But mentally, most are. Yeah. Thank you guys. Appreciate you all. See you next time for our 9-year celebration.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Deuces.